Welcome to the Post Sports Chat. I'm Drew Rubenstein here with Ed Owens, and we're a couple days away from the Mountaineers hosting Texas in a 7 p.m. nationally televised game. And big story with the Longhorns, at least coming out of Dana Holgerson's Tuesday press conference, was the turnaround. They started 1-2, and they ride into Morgantown on a 5-game win streak. But how much of a turnaround has there really been for the Longhorns?
Yeah, I think you can look at their record. Obviously, they've had the win streak in conference play. They've been playing a lot better compared to, I guess, how they were through the first 3 games. But you also have to take into consideration the fact of who they've played. Other than a win against Oklahoma, they haven't really come out and demonstrated an ability to win both sides of the ball, dominate. So they're not crushing opponents, they're winning games, they're playing solid football, but I think their biggest tests are still yet to come. So this is definitely a team that WVU could have some success against.
Absolutely. And looking at WVU on the defensive side, it seemed like it was probably Mountaineers one of their better games on the defensive line against TCU. They were able to rattle Casey Pahal at times. Did they figure some things out that are going to be able to play in a factor at Texas, or was it just kind of the circumstances of the TCU game?
I think the circumstances definitely played a big part of it. TCU couldn't run the ball. They absolutely just could not run the ball against WVU, which is a credit to WVU's run defense, but that also let the defensive line, the linebackers, kind of pin their ears back and really get after TCU in the passing game. Dana Holgerson said they had 21 knockdowns. According to Eric Slaughter, defensive line coach Eric Slaughter, he said 17 of those came from the defensive line in the buck position. So really they were getting that pressure up front, and they were generating it with 3 or 4 guys, which they had not been doing to this point in the season. They tied their season high with 3 sacks, and I think they're really confident. They feel like they can carry that over, but they're going to be facing a much different test this week against a Texas run game that is far superior to what they saw at TCU.
Absolutely. And on the offensive side, maybe a similar question here. WVU's offense feels like it found something in the fourth quarter against TCU, wherein they scored 17 points to ultimately take that game in overtime. Mm-hmm. Did they figure things out with Clint Trickett and the run game and find a nice combination there? Or again, is it just a matter of TCU turning the ball over and giving WVU's offense short fields to work with?
Well, the turnovers again played a part in it, but I think everyone is feeling really good about the way that fourth quarter went for Clint. One of the things that they'd always said was the communication, getting him comfortable, things like that. It clicked for them in the fourth quarter. He threw for 50-plus yards on the field goal drive that they had. He had 2 touchdown passes in the fourth quarter. I mean, he had a big hand in all 3 of the scoring drive. So while they were relying really heavily on Charles Sims in the run game, Clint was integral for what they did in the fourth quarter. They really do feel like they can kind of turn a corner here and build on that going forward. And they're really confident and optimistic about their chances of building on that success against Texas.
And looking at what Clint and the Mountaineers will go up on Saturday, what have you heard from WVU players and coaches about the improvements Texas has made with Greg Robinson, a defensive coordinator? Is he implementing a different scheme, or is it something else going on here?
No, they're saying the scheme isn't any different. It's more mentality. It's if there is a defensive change in their approach, one of the things Dana said was they're a little more basic on third down, that maybe in the past they were trying to do too many crazy things and really spreading themselves thin. You know what you're going to get with this Texas team, which I guess is the same thing they said about TCU heading into that game. They're not going to really surprise you. They're not going to do anything differently, but they are big, they're athletic, they're fast. It's not going to be easy for them, but they do know what to at least expect heading into this game.
And maybe you can say this about most college football teams entering in November, but you get the sense that WVU really can write its story for this season depending on what happens from here on out. Entering November, I think most people saw this season going in a completely different way, but if they're able to win Saturday night at Texas and then their next 2 games after that, the way people remember this season is going to be completely different, right?
I think they've already started rewriting that story. I think the win at TCU was huge for them. That was a kind of a toss-up game on the road where WVU had no success yet this season. They were really struggling in road games. So to be able to win that, kind of put that in their back pocket, the confidence they got from it. Yes, obviously if you beat Texas this week, that's a huge statement game. But even if they come out of here with a loss, if they play well, and it's one of the things we've been talking about for the last few weeks, kind of progressing, building as the season goes on, if they have a good showing even in a losing effort, they've already put themselves on track to really have success in the last 2 regular season games and be in the right direction for a bowl bid.
It'll be interesting to see. Thanks a lot, Ed. Please continue to check TheDPost.com for all the latest on the Mountaineers. Thanks for watching today.